There can be many reasons why we need to monitor chemicals in the environment, such as monitoring a chemical spill, identifying a source of contamination, or to understand the impacts of chemical pollution on human or ecological health. You might be monitoring for regulatory reasons, for research, or to understand the impacts of a catastrophic event. In each case, your chemical monitoring study can be approached in different ways. If there's been a spill into the environment, you may need to monitor intensely over a short period of time during the spillage event. If you're performing a study for regulatory purposes, you'll likely monitor regularly over long time periods, with results being compared to environmental quality standards. If your aim is to find the source or cause of an unknown pollution event, you will want to monitor multiple sites around the impacted location. It is therefore essential to determine the overall aim of your project first, as this will underpin the rest of the study design. Before starting your monitoring study, there are a number of key questions to consider, including: what chemical or chemicals are you looking for? What is the source of the contamination? What matrices, soil, air, water, sediment, or biota should you monitor? What receptors, such as humans, aquatic organisms, a drinking water supply, may be exposed to the contamination? What concentrations have been measured previously? When and where should monitoring take place? How can the chemical be analyzed? As you prepare for your study, there are several sources of information you may want to access to answer these questions. Relevant previous literature, databases, expert knowledge, existing regulatory and international standards and guidelines, analytical methodologies and supplier application notes, maps of the area of interest, hydrological, meteorological, and geological data. Finally, take into account the budget available to you. The next step in your study would be to work out a sampling strategy, thinking about when, how regularly, and where you are going to sample. Depending on whether the exposure is intermittent or continuous will determine if you will take grab or passive samples or sample continuously. Grab samples are taken at a specific time and place. Passive samples provide an average concentration over a set period of time. How frequently you will sample: hourly, daily, monthly, yearly. How long your study will last: a week, a month, a year. How many locations will you monitor? How will you determine your sampling locations? Ultimately, you must choose the most appropriate methods depending on the aim of your study. You must complete all health and safety checks before starting your study. This includes a risk assessment which details potential hazards and risks to ensure the safety of all who are sampling, as well as the general public and the environment. You should consider extreme weather, natural hazards, human-made hazards such as explosives or utility pipes and wires, general hazards such as slips, trips, and falls. There are a range of different mitigation strategies you can use to reduce risk, such as personal protective equipment and suitable clothing, first aid kits, communication devices, limit lone working. In some cases, you may also need to consider ethics and logistics, such as gaining permission to access sampling sites. Quality control is essential for a robust study. There are several steps you can take to achieve this. Replication improves the reliability of data generated by identifying potential anomalies. Field blanks and controls will help to identify potential cross-contamination during the sampling process. Filtering your samples to eliminate any debris collected during sampling. Frequently washing hands, equipment, and containers. Ensuring collection containers are made from a suitable material depending on your chosen chemical. For instance, avoid using a metal bucket when monitoring for metals. Suitably transporting samples taking into account any specific conditions they might require, such as keeping them cold or away from light. Considering appropriate long-term archiving in case later analysis is required. Now that the monitoring study has been designed, you are ready to get started.